after he admitted they're doing all this to destabilize the Middle East. They want to destabilize it. Well, they've done it. And now who's going to be in charge of Syria? Well, right now, who's in charge is this guy. This is from the United States State Department. They have a $10 million reward for this terrorist, Mohammed al-Jawalani. We just put this guy in charge of Syria. And how did I know that this guy was going to be in charge of Syria? Because they did this just a week ago. How Syria's diversity-friendly jihadists plan on building the state. So now they're woke-washing the jihadists who have been torturing people in Syria, they're the people throwing gay people off a building, that kind of thing. That's who these are. And now they're woke-washing them. Alan McLeod, I can't believe this is real. This is real. Anything? Do you want to tell me anything about this guy, Richard?
Yeah, I just find this absolutely incredible that the Telegraph published a headline like that and an article like that, because I was arrested under the Terrorism Act because of my reporting on Palestine. But you're not going to see the police arrest any of the journalists at the Telegraph. And I'm not saying they should, but I'm just trying to point out the hypocrisy. You're not going to see counter-terrorist police arresting them on a plane at Heathrow for glorifying Hts, which is a prescribed organization. It's on the list of banned groups, just as it is in the US. But the Terrorism Act, they're trying to amend it now to actually remove Jolani and Hts, which is Al Qaeda. Al Qaeda in Syria rebranded under the name of Al Nusra Front, and then Al Nusra Front became Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, which is HTS. It's still Al Qaeda, and that tweet you were showing on the screen, if you look at the ones just above it, which are posted by the so-called U.S. Embassy in Syria, which was just online actually, they even say that no matter what name they use, it's still Al Qaeda in Syria. Okay, so that's an official U.S. position, and they are Al Qaeda. These are head-chopping terrorists. I mean, the Jolani himself, he worked with Ayman al-Zawahiri, who was bin Laden's mentor and his right-hand man in Al Qaeda. As a matter of fact, Zawahiri blew up the Egyptian embassy next to my school. My classroom just blew up in Islamabad when I was in the British school. So we're talking about this guy studying, being mentored under one of the founding members of Al Qaeda, and being in both Al Qaeda and ISIS, right? Both of those organizations. There's even a photograph of Jolani with al-Baghdadi, and there's an ISIS flag on the wall. So he's a terrorist of a terrorist who's used actual violence to murder people across Syria. And this bodes very badly for Syria, because Syria has a diverse social fabric. You've got over a dozen religious and ethnic groups. It's always been a secular country. 10% of the population are Christian. You've got Druze, Alawites, Shia, Sunni, Armenians, Palestinians, Bedouins, Kurds, you name it. And it's a patchwork. You can't have someone like Jolani taking over the country, because it's only going to lead to bloodshed. And it's not hypothetical. This guy has actually murdered people and shed blood in the name of sectarianism, so we don't have to hypothesize. This is his past. This is who he is. And, they try to whitewash his personality on CNN with this interview. And they did the same thing on CBS Frontline 3 years ago, by the way, in a documentary. They put him in a suit all of a sudden and tried to whitewash him and make him look like he's some kind of civilized statesman. But he's a terrorist. And he tried to say on CNN that, he was young back then. Well, I'm sorry, but, that's not an excuse for beheading people and ripping Syria and Iraq apart. And I don't need to remind you, after the US invaded Iraq, most of the Christian population disappeared. I don't know what the exact number is. I think about 80% of the Christian population disappeared. Some of them were killed, the rest fled. Just absolute chaos. And then it spilled over into Syria. So, this guy is absolutely a terrorist, and we have to point out the fact that he's backed, who is backing him also, because Netanyahu went and did a victory lap, on the Golan Heights. Right now, Israel is invading about 400 square kilometers of Syria, and he is doing nothing. So all these opposition rebels, these so-called rebels who claim to be acting in the benefit of Syria, they're just letting Israel destroy Syria's air force. The air force is gone. All the planes have been destroyed. The Navy is being bombed right now. All of the ships are being destroyed. The weapons caches, the missile silos, the military research laboratories. Syria has no defense. So, Jolani and his ilk were so ready to chop people's heads off and carry out, heinous acts of violence. But as soon as Israel is invading more Syrian territory and destroying the country's military infrastructure, they have nothing to say and nothing to do, and they don't fire a single bullet. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
It's amazing. They say ISIS and Al Qaeda are enemies of Israel, yet they never attack them. It's amazing. It's exactly what you're talking about. It's almost like Israel invented ISIS. It's almost like that. It's almost like the United States invented Al Qaeda. It's almost like that. In fact, Hillary Clinton said we did. So